Homeless black girl dances with millionaire's wheelchair-bound son. Then a miracle happens. She was a homeless girl dancing on the streets. He was a millionaire bound to a wheelchair. When their worlds collided, something miraculous happened that neither of them could have ever imagined. This is a story about hope, healing, and the unexpected power of dance. Please support us by subscribing to our channel. The morning air was sharp and damp as clouds hovered low over downtown Chicago. Sierra Johnson tightened the strings on her worn-out hoodie and stepped into the open space near Grant Park. She didn't care about the cold or the drizzle soaking her sleeves. This was her stage. With a crackling speaker tucked inside her backpack, she placed it on a concrete bench and hit play. The beat kicked in, loud, fast, infectious, and she moved. At 16, Sierra had seen more nights under the sky than any kid should. After her grandmother died, she was bounced from foster home to foster home until she aged out unofficially and slipped through the cracks. Now the city was her home and the streets, her audience. She danced with purpose. Her moves were sharp, her feet fast. Tourists sometimes stopped to watch, and if she was lucky, they dropped some loose bills or change in the old coffee cup she placed beside her. But today the crowd was thin. Still, she danced. Not for money, but to remember who she was before life got hard. Across the street, a sleek black SUV pulled to a slow stop. Inside was 14-year-old Ethan Whitaker, watching from behind tinted glass. His gaze was fixed on the girl in motion. His nurse, Mrs. Dean, was on her phone, not noticing the shift in his expression. Ethan had been paralyzed from the waist down for 4 years after a rare spinal infection left him unable to walk. His father, Marcus Whitaker, was one of Chicago's wealthiest real estate developers, ruthless in business and emotionally distant at home. Ethan's life was comfortable, but painfully sterile. Tutors, therapists, nurses, no friends, no laughter, no movement, until now. Ethan pressed his forehead against the cool window, eyes wide as Sierra spun through a puddle like it was part of the choreography. "Mrs. Dean," he said softly. She glanced over. "Yes, honey?" "Can you call her over?" Mrs. Dean looked puzzled, following his gaze. "The dancer." Ethan nodded. "Please." She rolled down the window and waved. Sierra froze mid-spin, unsure if she was about to get scolded for being too close to the clinic. "You okay?" she called out, her voice guarded. "We're okay," Mrs. Dean said kindly. This young man wanted to say something. Sierra approached cautiously, keeping her eyes on Ethan. "You're amazing," Ethan said. "I've never seen someone move like that. It's like you're flying." Sierra blinked, caught off guard. "Thanks. I'm Sierra." "I'm Ethan," he replied. "Do you dance here often?" "Only when I don't get kicked out." He smiled. It was small, but it reached his eyes. "Well, I hope you come back," Ethan said. Sierra looked at him, really looked, and saw not a rich boy in a wheelchair, but someone real, someone lonely. "Maybe I will," she said, and turned back to the street. That night, Sierra curled up behind an abandoned bookstore on South Wabash Avenue, where a cardboard box and an old flannel blanket served as her bed. She held the granola bar Mrs. Dean had slipped her and stared at it for a long moment before finally taking a bite. It wasn't just food, it was kindness. And kindness in Sierra's world was rare. She replayed the interaction with Ethan in her mind, the way he looked at her, not with pity or judgment, but curiosity, like he saw something in her that no one else bothered to notice. It unsettled her in the best way. The next morning, she debated returning. What if it had all been a moment of passing interest? Rich folks were unpredictable, but then she remembered Ethan's face, how he smiled, how he really listened, and something in her stirred. She pulled her hoodie over her head, tied her busted sneakers tighter, and made her way back to the clinic steps. Meanwhile, in the Whitaker penthouse, Ethan was fidgeting in his chair. Normally, his mornings were a mix of bland breakfast, physical therapy, and silent drives. But today, he was anxious in a way that felt good. Marcus Whitaker, his father, noticed but didn't say much. He simply sipped his black coffee and tapped away at his tablet, absorbed in stock reports. Mrs. Dean met Ethan in the lobby as usual. "You ready for your session?" "Not really," he said honestly, "but I hope she's there again." She asked, smirking knowingly. He gave a quiet shrug. Sierra was there. Same spot, same speaker, same stubborn spark. Ethan rolled out of the car faster than usual. "You came back," he said, almost surprised. Sierra shrugged. "Didn't have anything better to do." "You really love dancing, don't you?" "It's all I got," she said, glancing away. "Music makes things hurt less." He nodded. "I can't dance, at least not like you." She tilted her head. "So what? Who says dancing has to be on your feet?" Ethan blinked. "What do you mean?" "I've seen people in wheelchairs move with more rhythm than people with legs. You just need to feel the beat. Want me to show you?" His eyes lit up. "You serious?" "Dead serious." She stepped in front of him and clapped a steady rhythm. "Just follow my hands," she said. They started small, shoulder rolls, wrist flicks, neck grooves. Ethan was stiff at first, unsure, but Sierra was patient. She joked, laughed, encouraged. Slowly, his movements began to match hers. "Look at you," she said, grinning. "Told you it ain't about legs. It's about soul." Ethan laughed, an actual full laugh that caught even Mrs. Dean by surprise. For the next half hour, they moved together. Not perfectly, not gracefully, but with joy. By the end of the session, something had changed. The two kids from opposite worlds weren't just dancer and spectator anymore. They were partners. The dance sessions between Sierra and Ethan became a daily ritual. Every afternoon, right after Ethan's therapy ended, Sierra would show up outside the clinic, music cued and ready. Ethan would roll out, sometimes with a new playlist, eager to learn whatever moves Sierra had planned that day. Their energy together was contagious. Passers-by started noticing. Office workers paused on lunch breaks, nurses watched from the second-floor windows, and even the security guard began timing his rounds to coincide with their sessions. Then one day, a local news blogger captured a 30-second video clip. It was nothing staged, just Ethan following Sierra's lead, arms swaying, head bobbing, both of them laughing in rhythm. The caption read, "Street dancer teaches wheelchair bound, teen to groove, pure joy in downtown Chicago." By morning, the clip had over 100,000 views. At the Whitaker penthouse, Marcus slammed his coffee cup down harder than usual. "You're in a viral video," he said, scrolling through his phone, "without any kind of clearance. This could blow back on our name." Ethan blinked, unsure how to respond. "We were just dancing with a homeless girl on the sidewalk. She has a name." Sierra Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You don't know anything about her, where she's from, what she's into. What if she's dangerous?" "She's not." Ethan's voice was firm, more than his usual hesitant tone. "She treats me like a person. That's more than most people do." Marcus looked like he wanted to argue, but instead he exhaled slowly. "Fine, but I want someone keeping an eye on this." Back on the streets, Sierra hadn't seen the video yet. She didn't have a phone or Wi-Fi, but she could feel something had shifted. More people smiled at her as she walked. Someone handed her a coffee without asking for money. One little girl even asked for a picture. When she reached the clinic that afternoon, Ethan was waiting with a grin. "Guess what?" he said. "You're famous." Sierra raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "Our video, it blew up." She blinked. "What video?" He pulled out his phone and played it for her. She watched, quiet and tense, as strangers' comments flashed across the screen. "This made my day. Look at that girl's energy. She's amazing. Someone give them a show." She handed the phone back, unsure how to feel. "I didn't ask for attention." "You didn't have to," Ethan said. "People just saw what I see." For a moment, neither of them spoke. "Hey," Ethan added, "what if we did more? Like, actually worked on something big, a routine, maybe even performed?" Sierra laughed. "You serious?" "Yeah, why not?" She considered it, the edges of her lips turning up. "Okay, Whitaker, let's dance." And just like that, a dream neither of them had dared to imagine began to take form. The next few days were electric. Every afternoon, Sierra and Ethan rehearsed under the overpass near Grant Park, where the traffic above gave their practice space a strange kind of rhythm. Sierra choreographed each move, adapting steps for Ethan's wheelchair, challenging him with turns, hand isolations, and partner work. He wasn't perfect, but he was committed and surprisingly good. "I swear, if you had legs, you'd probably be better than me," Sierra joked as Ethan nailed a synchronized wave move. "I think you're just a great teacher," he replied, panting slightly. "And stubborn." "Yeah, well, being stubborn's the only reason I'm still breathing." They paused for a water break. Sierra handed him a bottle, then sat on the edge of the curb, looking out at the people walking by. "You ever think about how weird this all is?" "What?" "This," she said, gesturing between them. "You, with your life in a high-rise. Me, sleeping behind a bookstore with a hoodie for a pillow. Yet here we are, making up dance routines like it's a Disney movie." Ethan's smile faded slightly. "It doesn't feel weird. Feels like the first thing that's made sense in a long time." Sierra didn't answer right away. "People look at me and assume I did something wrong, like I messed up to end up out here. But life just doesn't give everyone the same chances." Ethan nodded slowly. "My dad thinks I'll never walk again, that it's better to focus on the new normal. But when I'm dancing with you, I don't feel broken." That sentence hit Sierra deep. She wiped her nose quickly, pretending not to be moved. "Then don't let him define what you are. You're not broken. You're just different." The rehearsals became their world. Sierra sketched out choreography on a notepad someone donated, and Ethan downloaded beat mixes late into the night. Mrs. Dean started bringing snacks for both of them. Even Marcus, who at first only monitored from afar, now watched from the SUV some evenings, quiet and unreadable. But not everyone watching was rooting for them. One gray morning, as Sierra arrived early to practice, a tall man in a long coat stepped out from behind a pillar. He was thin, twitchy, and had a scar under one eye. "Hey, little Sierra," he said, voice like gravel. "Been a long time." She froze. "Reggie? Still dancing, huh?" He smirked. "Guess it's better than running scams, but we both know that act won't last forever." "I'm not doing that anymore," she said firmly. He stepped closer. "Sure, but if this new gig of yours pays, you better remember who used to look out for you. You owe me." "I don't owe you anything." He gave her a look, half warning, half threat. "Don't forget where you came from." When he walked away, Sierra's hands were shaking. She turned to find Ethan had just rolled up. "Hey," he said, noticing her face. "You okay?" She forced a smile. "Yeah, just tired." But as they started dancing again, Sierra knew the past wasn't done with her yet, and that the miracle Ethan believed in might come at a cost she wasn't sure she could pay. Sierra tried to shake Reggie's shadow from her mind, but his words clung like damp clothes. She didn't tell Ethan. She couldn't. He was finally happy again, coming alive in a way she hadn't seen in anyone before. Their rehearsals were his joy, and she wouldn't steal that from him. But she couldn't stop looking over her shoulder. Despite the tension gnawing at her, their routine was coming together beautifully. They practiced a fusion of hip-hop and contemporary, Ethan's wheelchair gliding in perfect time with Sierra's fluid footwork. It was raw, expressive, and full of heart. One afternoon, as they were finishing a run-through under the bridge, Mrs. Dean showed up early. She clapped with tears in her eyes. "You too? That was beautiful. Truly," she said. Ethan beamed. Sierra looked away, still not used to praise. "You should be on a real stage," Mrs. Dean continued. "Not just sidewalks." Sierra raised a brow. "And who's going to put two misfits like us on a real stage?" "I know someone," Mrs. Dean said. The next day, a sharply dressed woman arrived during practice. Her name was Kendra Morales, a youth arts director from a local nonprofit. Mrs. Dean had sent her a clip of their latest rehearsal. Kendra watched them perform in silence, arms crossed, lips pressed tight. Sierra wasn't sure if that meant she liked it or hated it. When they finished, Kendra stepped forward. "That was one of the most honest performances I've seen all year." Ethan grinned. Sierra blinked. "I run a citywide youth talent showcase," Kendra said. "It's coming up in 2 weeks. Top acts win scholarship opportunities and grant money. I want you two to open the show." Sierra froze. "You serious?" "As a heart attack." Ethan practically bounced in his chair. "We'll do it." But Sierra hesitated. Kendra noticed. Is something wrong? No, Sierra said quickly. I mean, yes, I don't have clothes for a stage. I don't have anything. We'll take care of that, Kendra assured. Wardrobe, music, lighting. You just bring your story. Later that night, Sierra sat behind the bookstore, knees tucked to her chest. Her heart should have been soaring, but all she felt was fear. She thought of Reggie, of the streets, of the risks of getting too visible. This showcase could change everything, or destroy the fragile safety she'd built. The next day, she tried to tell Ethan maybe it wasn't a good idea. What do you mean? He asked, clearly stunned. I'm just not sure I belong up there, she said. I don't fit in with stages and cameras and fancy people. You belong wherever your heart leads you, Ethan said, eyes locked on hers. And right now, it's leading us to that stage. Don't let fear take that from you. For the first time in a long time, Sierra let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she was allowed to want something more. The evening of the showcase arrived faster than Sierra expected. The stage was set in a grand old theater downtown. Ornate chandeliers, velvet curtains, and seats filled with Chicago's who's who. Talent scouts, philanthropists, and media personnel all filed in, buzzing with anticipation. Backstage, Sierra stood in a borrowed black jumpsuit and fresh sneakers, her hair braided neatly by a stylist Kendra had brought in. She barely recognized herself in the mirror. Beside her, Ethan wore a sleek black shirt and silver vest, his wheelchair polished and decorated with LED strips that glowed faintly. You look like a star, Ethan whispered. Sierra gave a nervous smile. I feel like I'm about to puke. You won't, he said, but if you do, just make it look like part of the choreography. That earned a laugh, small but real. The MC's voice echoed through the wings. Our opening act tonight is a story of resilience, rhythm, and rising above. Please welcome Ethan Whitaker and Sierra Carter. Sierra's knees went weak. Ethan placed his hand gently over hers. Let's show them who we are. The lights dimmed, music started, and then they danced. It wasn't perfect, but it was powerful. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Sierra moved with a grace that felt born, not learned, while Ethan spun and glided with bold precision. They didn't just perform, they told a story of struggle, of friendship, of movement born from stillness. And when they ended, him holding her hand up high, both of them panting and smiling, the audience erupted. Applause thundered, cheers echoed. People stood. Sierra felt something inside her crack open. She'd never been seen like this. Not as a problem, or a street kid, or someone to avoid. She was celebrated. Backstage, Marcus Whitaker waited silently. When Ethan rolled toward him, flushed with pride, Marcus stared at his son with unreadable eyes. Then to everyone's surprise, he said, "You were incredible." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Wait, what?" "I still don't get it," Marcus admitted. "But I saw something up there. I saw you. I haven't seen that in a long time." Sierra hung back, unsure whether she was welcome. But Marcus turned toward her, extending a hand. "Thank you," he said, "for helping my son find his spirit again." Sierra shook his hand cautiously. "He helped me too." Later that night, after the awards were given out, they didn't win, but it didn't matter. Kendra approached them with tears in her eyes. "I have a donor," she said. "Someone who saw your story and wants to fund full scholarships for both of you. Ethan for a digital media course and Sierra for a performing arts program. If you want it." Sierra stood frozen. I don't even have an address." "You will," Kendra smiled. "We'll help with that too." As the theater lights dimmed and the audience filed out, Sierra walked outside and looked up at the stars. 2 months later, Sierra stood in front of a classroom mirror, watching her students copy the moves she demonstrated. A community center in Southside Chicago had brought her on as a part-time dance instructor. The pay wasn't much, but to Sierra it was everything. She had a key to her own apartment now, a small studio above a laundromat, with creaky floors and mismatched cabinets. But it was hers. No more sleeping behind bookstores. No more hiding. Ethan, on the other hand, was thriving at the local arts college. His digital storytelling class had earned him recognition for a short film he made about wheelchair choreography, and Sierra was in almost every frame. He rolled into her studio every Tuesday to help out, the two of them still dancing together like it was therapy. One Tuesday afternoon, Sierra was tidying up when Ethan arrived, holding 2 coffees in a tray. "I got you the caramel one," he said, handing it over. "You're a saint," she grinned. They sat on the edge of the studio's wooden floor, sipping quietly. "Remember when we met?" Ethan asked. Sierra chuckled. "You mean when your security guy thought I was trying to rob you?" "Yup, romantic start." They both laughed. "But seriously," Ethan said, his tone softening, "you changed my life." Sierra looked at him, her smile fading into something more tender. "You gave me a reason to believe again. No one's ever looked at me the way you did, like I was worth something." "You were always worth something. You just forgot for a while." They sat there in silence for a moment, soaking in how far they'd come. Across town, Marcus Whitaker was organizing a fundraising gala. After seeing his son's transformation, he'd started a foundation supporting inclusive arts programs for underprivileged youth. He even named the first scholarship the Carter Whitaker Fellowship. Sierra couldn't believe it when he told her. "You're building something big, Sierra," he said, "and it's only the beginning." Reggie, the man from Sierra's past, hadn't shown his face again, but the fear he'd planted had finally stopped growing. She wasn't the scared girl looking over her shoulder anymore. One Saturday evening, the community center hosted a local showcase. Parents, neighbors, and kids packed into the small auditorium. Sierra's students performed a short routine. It was clumsy, imperfect, but full of joy. As the kids took their final pose, Sierra looked into the crowd and saw a row of familiar faces. Ethan, Mrs. Dean, Kendra, and even Marcus, clapping and beaming. After the show, one of her students, a little girl with wide eyes and frizzy braids, tugged at her sleeve. "Miss Sierra," she whispered, "I want to dance like you when I grow up." Sierra knelt down to her level. "You'll dance even better." That night, as she locked up the center and walked out into the soft glow of the street lamps, she turned to Ethan. "You think miracles are real?" she asked. He nodded. "Yeah, you just danced one into being." And as the two of them walked side by side into the quiet Chicago night, Sierra knew one thing for certain. Sometimes the most powerful miracles don't come with thunder or lights. Sometimes they come in the form of one simple thing, a hand reaching out and someone willing to take it. Sierra's journey from the shadows of the streets to the spotlight of the stage reminds us that sometimes all it takes is one moment, one connection to change everything. Through the power of dance, friendship, and faith in second chances, 2 unlikely souls rewrote their destinies together. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more real-life inspired tales that uplift, inspire, and remind us of the miracles waiting in ordinary places. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story that just might change the way you see the world. Let us know in the comments. What's one act of kindness that changed your life?